Okay, thank you. Okay, I apologize for the delay. Thank you, everyone. Welcome to the Township of Springfield Board of Adjustment meeting for June 17th, 2025. The time is 6:13. Adequate notice of this meeting was given in accordance with the Sunshine Law. Notice was published on January 2nd in the local source, one of the official newspapers for the Township of Springfield for the year 2024 and 2025, and posted in the Annex Building on January 2nd, 2025. Can we please stand to salute the flag?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May we please have the roll call?
Mr. Stephen Hochstein?
Here.
Mr. Michael Weckstein? Mr. Stephen Furstenbaum? Ms. Marla Naparano? Mr. Peter Shewitz?
Here.
Ms. Anika Dotson? Mr. Randy Perlman? Vice Chair Mark Cunningham?
Here.
And Chairwoman Jody Cohen.
Here.
We have quorum.
Excellent. First order of business is resolutions to memorialize. The first resolution on the agenda is application 2025-5 for 250 Milltown Road, Block 2001, Lot 16. Has every member of the board had an opportunity to review the resolution? Are there any questions or comments? If there are none, is there a motion to approve?
I'll move. I'll second.
Mr. Hochstein?
Yes.
Mr. Furstenbaum?
Yes.
Ms. Naparano? Mr. Shewitz?
Yes.
Mr. Perlman?
Yes.
Vice Chair Cunningham?
Yes.
And Chair Cohen.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Second application on for memorialization is application 2025-8, 54 Country Club Lane, Block 1807, Lot 7. Has every member had an opportunity to review the resolution? Are there any questions or comments? If there are none, is there a motion to approve?
I'll move. I'll second.
Mr. Furstenbaum?
Yes.
Mr. Shewitz?
Yes.
Mr. Hochstein?
Yes.
Ms. Naparano? Mr. Perlman?
Yes.
Vice Chair Cunningham?
Yes.
And Chair Cohen.
Yes. And the third and final resolution on for memorialization is application 2022-23 amendment for 8995 and 109 Victory Road, Block 301, Lots 5 and 7. This was an amendment to the 2023 site plan approval. Has every member had an opportunity to review? Are there any questions or comments? If there are none, do we have a motion to approve?
I'll move.
All right, all at once. Second? I'll second.
Eeny, meeny, moe. Mr. Hochstein?
Yes.
Chair Cohen.
Yes.
Mr. Furstenbaum?
Yes.
Ms. Naparano? Mr. Shewitz?
Yes.
Mr. Perlman?
Yes.
And Vice Chair Cunningham.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Excellent. We're going to move on to the applications this evening, and the first application that we're going to call is an application that's a continuation from our May meeting, and that's application 2025-9. This is for 4 Hampshire Court, Block 3201, Lot 18. Council, nice to see you again.
I'm in a suit this time.
How are you?
For the record, John, I'm sorry? Sure. I don't know what exhibit on we do application 1A1.
Yeah, did we have any exhibits from the previous hearing?
But if you want to do AA1, like application appearance.
No. Okay, well, I guess we could do that. Why don't we do that anyway, for double A for the second meeting, and we'll just call it that, AA1, perfect.
Chairman and members of the board, John Georgie, G-I-O-R-G-I on behalf of the applicant. And if I could just give a little bit of a preview, what you're being handed now is engineering plans, which show 2 tanks that go in the backyard, which is a culmination of a dozen or so emails and conversations between the applicant's engineer and the township engineer with gross calculations, questions about the calculations, answers provided by Mr. Disco, 2 tanks in the rear yard which capture all but 22.5%, which I believe is the maximum allowed. The second exhibit is in response to some of the neighbors' concerns about foliage and trees that we planted to absorb the water.
Excuse me, can you speak into the mic, please?
Oh, I thought I spoke loud enough. Sorry about that.
Yes, and just, let's slow down for a second. So the first exhibit we're going to call AA1
Correct?
is the drainage plan.
Correct.
That is correct, so that's what we will call that.
Drainage
And then
plan.
the second exhibit, which we are gonna call AA2, is this full-size
Yes.
sheet, which shows us landscaping, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so we're gonna call that the landscaping, the applicant's landscaping plan, proposed landscaping plan? Great. Okay, and this is done by the contractor?
That is correct.
Okay, so this is done by the contractor, this is the engineer, Holland.
Correct.
Okay, great. All right, proceed.
So the landscape design was done in response to some of the neighbors' concerns and the board's concern about plants that would absorb water. I will comment that my client has a video of what the backyard looks like after the several days of rain, and I do believe there was a discussion based upon extreme rain. I wouldn't say what we had recently was extreme rain, but there's no standing water in the backyard. However, they had plans to place 7 trees along the border of the neighbor that was here, the woman that was here, I forget her name, but she's the neighbor to the right rear, to create foliage in that area. And they have 7 trees that are arborvitae trees that are called green giants, I have photographs of them, along the left side of the rear yard, where the 2 tanks will be. If you'll notice at the drainage diagram, there's 2 tanks to take care of any surface runoff or water accumulation. And there are 2,000-gallon tanks, and there's going to be a swale or berm created that all the water will run from the right side rear of the property to the left side rear of the property where the 2 tanks are. This is in addition to the tank that's in the front of the yard. So in total, there's going to be 3 tanks on the property to handle extreme weather surface runoff.
And just refresh my recollection, this is 3 new tanks. The one in the front yard did not exist, correct? So
The
we're
one in
gonna
the
put
front yard
2?
did not exist.
Okay.
However, most of the concerns of the neighbors and the board were of the rear yard.
Okay.
That's why, since the last board meeting, the concentration and the effort was made to accommodate the water in the rear yard. I understand there's a unique anomaly that happens at this neighborhood where all the neighbors run towards the back of the yard. So it's not only my client, but it's accumulation of neighbors. So what we did was we turned our concentration to the rear yard. There are 2 1,000-gallon tanks, which was done in conjunction with multiple conversation with Mr. Michael Disco and the engineer that was hired by my client. So there are 2 1,000-gallon tanks appear on the left side of the property, rear, with a swale that goes from the right side of the property where all the foliage is, and I believe there's one giant tree, which the name escapes me, I know it's on the plan. A cypress tree, which will be planted near the pool in the middle to accumulate more water and more surface runoff. We believe this is more than enough, but it brings the overage down to the lot requirement of 22.5%.
Okay. Let's do this first, since the applicant will speak. Why don't we swear her in? Let's do that.
Tatiana Morales. Yes.
All right, great. So is there anything that you would like to add to this? Is your engineer here? No, okay, so it's just you 2. All right. Is there anything that you want to add before I open this to questions?
I think he stated everything that we pretty much did. We just followed what was requested from the board. Said that to our engineer, like he mentioned, spoke to Mike Disco, and we were in compliance with what the county and the state also require for how much, I believe the seepage tank, how much it holds. And then that's pretty much it. I mean, besides that, there's gonna be also stone around the tank once those are installed. And that's pretty much it. Pretty straightforward.
Okay, thank you. All right, so members of the board, I'm going to open it to questions for the applicant for you.
If these tanks overflow, is the overflow directed to the empty property in the back, so it doesn't go on the neighbors?
So there's an entire drainage and area drains along the back property line. So if the pit were to fill up, it would find the path of least resistance. It would probably come out of one of the area drains or out of the seepage pit top if it was an open top.
And it would go to the back, not to the
It would follow the primary drainage pattern, but again, they're designed for 8.7 inches of rain plus Governor Murphy's modifier of 35% above that, calculating for year 2100 rain. So we asked, Mr. Cunningham said he'd like to see it back to the 22.5. They've done all the overage. So they're taking the roof area, going to the front, taking other areas to the back.
So it's actually,
Can overflow, yeah, sure, certainly can.
but it's way better than it was.
Way better than it was. They're putting a series of trees with the area drains. All we asked was, direct the water to the area drains rather than over. They've consented to that. They've done everything the board has asked of them.
Thank you.
Mr. Disco, have you seen a plan by the engineer?
Yes,
And does it satisfy you in total?
yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? None at this time. I'm going to open it up to the public. This is for questions as to what was presented, not to speak on the application itself. Any questions for what has been presented? And is there any member of the public that wanted to take a look at what is actually presented? Okay, excellent. Anything that you would like to add at this time?
Yes, I actually had a discussion with my client that it was one board member and one board member alone who said they want to remediate back to the minimum. I had suggested to my client that's just one board member, and she said that was enough for her to remediate back to that level. So in my opinion, my client wanted me to explain the application, not that she didn't want to testify, but she's literally done everything. I don't want to use the word capitulated because it sounds condescending, but she's literally done everything the neighbors asked, she's done everything the board has asked, and she worked closely with Michael Disco on every email with her engineer, and she finally said, John, just let's give them everything they want because they want to be able to enjoy the pool, they want the additional pavers, she's okay with the additional foliage, they want to actually be good neighbors and they want to comply. And to your comment, I think the extreme weather that would be needed to fill two 1,000-gallon tanks is almost like another Storm Sandy or Ida where there's going to be water everywhere anyway. So absent that event, I think she's done everything the board has asked and everything the community's asked, and she just wants the application approved.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to open the application up to the public. Anyone member of the public wish to speak on this application? None. Okay. Members of the board? Deliberation? I think that where I originally felt that there was too much impervious and not enough accommodations to mitigate the runoff, I believe that the applicant has worked with the municipality and the engineer to get this to a point where we can be happy with the outcome and the neighbors will not be impaired negatively by this. I don't think that I would see a detriment to this because of the amount of dry wells that have been placed on the property and the volume that they could hold. I also appreciate the landscape plan and that you have proposed to put the arborvitae and the cypress towards the adjacent neighboring lot where they were concerned. So for that, I would be in favor of the application.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Excellent.
Mr. Cunningham?
Yes.
Mr. Hochstein?
Yes.
Mr. Furstenbaum?
Yes.
Ms. Naparano? Mr. Shiwitz?
Yes.
Mr. Pearlman?
Yes.
And Chair Cohen?
Yes,
Motion passed.
excellent. Thank you very much. Nice meeting you. Good job. Yeah, great job. The resolution will be on for likely the July meeting. Thank you. Okay, the next application that I'm gonna call is application 2025-11. This is 37 Henshaw Avenue, block 1305, lot 40. This is a request for a front yard setback variance for an addition on the property. Is the applicant here this evening? Good evening, how are you?
Good, yourself?
Excellent, we're just gonna give our counsel 1 second.
No worries.
And he's going to swear you in. Will you be the only one speaking tonight, or do you intend on any other family member? I'm assuming your family. Okay, so we'll swear you both in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth?
Yes.
Each of you, please state your name, one of you spell your last name, and give your home address.
Matthew Studemeyer, Stoudemayer, 37 Henshaw Ave.
Michaela Studemeyer.
Thank you.
Okay, please tell us a little bit about what you're looking to do and the reasons that you're asking for the relief.
So we did file this, and it was approved back in 2020 to do an extension on the house. We weren't allowed to mess with the footprint, so the only way to do it is to take the second floor up and build up. So the reason being is we have 2 children, we only have 2 bedrooms, and we want to put 3 bedrooms into the house, and then also a functioning attic. Storage.
Okay. Members of the board, any questions for the applicant?
This is the same as the plan that was approved in
Yes, sir.
2020?
Nothing has changed.
The reason why you're requesting is because they're pre-existing non-conforming. Right, Mike?
The side yard and front yard are non-conforming, so going vertically up, so you're massing in the setback, but it's going on top of where the existing foundation was.
The footprint to the property is exactly as per the survey of 2009?
Yes, sir.
And you're just coming back because you didn't act on it? and
Yes,
it
sir.
expired, so you're just
Correct,
gonna-
sir. Yes.
Okay.
Prices increased for during COVID, and everything got kind of messed up.
Not any less now.
Very true.
You got the approval in 2020?
Yes, it was the end, the meeting was December, and it was approved in January, so it was,
You get 1 year to effectuate it. I don't believe they filed for building.
correct.
If I might, for the board's edification, I did look into this, and none of the extensions that were granted because of COVID, the timeframes just, they didn't fall with any of them.
Okay. Any other questions? None. Excellent. Any members of the public any members of the public have any questions for the applicant? None. Any members of the public wish to speak on this application? Excellent. Okay, with that, I'm in favor of granting the approval that we previously granted in 2020. And I think it's an improvement to the overall property. So if everyone is, or if anyone's in agreement, do we have a motion to approve?
I'll move to reapprove.
Mr. Hochstein?
Yes.
Ms. Naparano? Yes. Mr. Furstenbaum?
Yes.
Mr. Shiwitz?
Yes.
Mr. Perlman? Yes. Vice Chair Cunningham?
Yes.
And Chair Cohen?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Excellent.
Lots of
Good luck.
See you in 4 years.
Okay, the final application on this evening's application 2025-12. This is for 28 Edison Place, Block 301 and 210, Lot 2. Minor site plan?
Both lot 2, 301 lot.
301 Lot 2 and Block 210 Lot 2. Minor site plan and use variance is requested. Good evening, how are you?
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. Vincent Lachlan for the Atlantic Federal Credit Union. We're here this evening asking for the approval to utilize existing space within the building. It's currently used as a waiting room with 2 chairs and a table. We would like the permission and the approval of the board to add a terminal in there, which would allow, I'll call it a terminal, which would allow for the bank to be able to log in certain transactions that may take place with members. Not an ATM, not a teller, but people that would come to the bank and sign paperwork to become a member, or would be there for financing, and therefore would be able to receive proceeds that could be credited to their account. It's extremely limited change. There are no changes proposed for the exterior of the building. The credit union received approval from the board to renovate the building in 2020. Since that time, they've occupied the building for administrative offices. There have been no changes made in the occupancy of the building. There are no changes proposed to the exterior use. As the ordinance requires in the I-20 zone, it permits office use, but does not permit anything that might be considered the function of a financial institution. That's where the use variance comes in. So adding the terminal, although, in my world, I think it's hard to detect the difference between, and I certainly am not a tech-savvy guy at this stage of my life, but I really don't see much of a difference between a terminal and a computer. The credit union is concerned and interested and always wishes to comply with all requirements. So there'd be no work required. I think that even would trigger a building permit. I have Mr. Merrow, who's the Chief Executive Officer, as explained in our statement having to do with the use of the waiting room, which is 9 by 13 existing space. There'd be no change whatsoever to the size of that room. It's just bringing in a different table and 2 different chairs. There are 2 chairs there now and a table. We changed the furniture and add what I've been describing as the terminal. If I might be permitted, Madam Chair, it's part of the application, but I think it tells the story quite accurately. If I could offer up an exhibit, which is the existing room and the proposed change, I think it's,
Please do.
yeah,
Very helpful.
okay. And it shows it, I think, very clearly what we're talking about as far as the space in question. It's a 2-page exhibit. Roman numeral 1 is the existing space outlined in turquoise, which shows the table and the 2 chairs and 1 for a bank employee. And then Roman numeral 2 shows the proposed change. And the same area outlined in turquoise as far as the same office or waiting space that's used in the building. There's not going to be any partition or any additional work that's going to be required to reconfigure this space. It again is, the only change proposed is to add the terminal and to add that function. There's no ATM proposed. There's no real retail banking change. It's not going to be a branch bank where you'd have, tellers and cash and that kind of functions. And as far as the site work, there's nothing that's going to be detectable from the exterior that this change has even been accomplished. But it is the existing space. The terminal would be added, a new table and chairs, get new furniture in there, but to have room for 2 individuals and an employee of the credit union. And again, no other change whatsoever proposed for the site, inside, outside, anywhere.
Just for the record, we'll mark these 2 pages as A1.
That'd be fine. Thank you, Mr. Bergen. Bank has been there since 2020. I understand because it's considered a financial institution as far as that function. The building at the present time is used for administrative offices by the bank, has been since the approval and the renovation that was done as a result of the resolution issued in 2020. There have been no change in the occupancy of the building. There are no, when it was originally approved, there was a setback variance, and I understand this, the board planner has picked up, and in the original resolution, there was a variance issued for a generator. Now, I understand from Mr. Mistretta, I think it's in his review, that a generator is a permitted use. But the only 2020 variance that was triggered for the site was for a setback. And there were no other issues. There was more than enough parking. In fact, there were 5 parking spaces banked in the original approval back in 2020. So we're respectfully requesting the variance is a use variance because, of course, this is not an office use as the ordinance defines it. It's considered to be a financial use. Therefore, we're required to meet the particularly suitable standard of getting a D variance. We believe it's particularly suitable as an incidental use to the ongoing use of this property by the institution for its services to members, that this is a function that's inherently related to that continued effective use of this property as administrative offices for the bank. I believe, therefore, the particularly suitable standard as far as relating the use proposed, in this case, adding the terminal to the ongoing effective use of the property and the original approval and the successful occupancy of the building since the 2020 approval and the renovation of the building that the bank has accomplished. So I believe as far as the particularly suitable and sometimes called the positive criteria, I believe that that's kind of self-evident based on the ongoing operations that have been conducted since 2020 without any objection or problem. As far as the negative criteria, there'd be no impact whatsoever on the site. In fact, since 2020, we now have fewer employees at the building than we used to have. But as far as the negative criteria, the impact on the property is not detectable because it's an interior space and no other changes whatsoever. And I think I mentioned, I don't even think we're going to need permits from the town, maybe an electrical permit based on the conduits that are required for this terminal or whatever the facility is. As far as the impact on the zoning ordinance and the impact in any negative sense, there'd be no impairment of the zone plan or the ordinance by this extremely modest change in the uses of the property and in the change of what's actually going to be taking place. So I think overall that it would meet those requirements and standards. Mr. Merrow, the Chief Executive Officer of the credit union, is here to respond to any questions or issues the board may have, or to give us any, or for us to give you any more information that you think is necessary or required for your review of this application.
Mr. Loughlin, are you going to swear your client in, as we need a witness under oath to testify that everything is true, so.
Mr. Merrow? Take the oath.
Place your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth?
Yes.
Please state your full name, spell your last name, and give us your business address.
Anthony Merrow, M-E-R-O. Business address is 2-8 Edison Place, Springfield, New Jersey, 07081.
Mr. Merrill, I've introduced you to the board, and you were the Chief Executive Officer of the board when the bank received approval from the township for the 2020 resolution that allowed the bank to renovate the building and occupy it. Is that correct?
Actually, I was the successor to the person who received that approval. I was the CEO when the CO was granted to occupy the building, and I moved the credit union into the building.
And you've been there since then, is that correct?
We moved into the facility a month after the CEO was received in September of 2021.
And you've heard me outline to the board the area of the property and the interior space that was proposing to add the terminal and add that particular function to the bank.
Correct, as highlighted on the exhibit.
And I made certain other statements regarding the use of the property and conditions, and also stated that there are no other exterior changes proposed. Is that correct?
That is correct.
How do you think, Mr. Merrow, adding this terminal will assist the bank as far as your administrative functioning and the office use of the property and the overall benefit of the operations of the credit union? How do you think this is going to help?
Well, I think it'll be a benefit to allow us to assist our members, and a credit union is a financial institution that's federally insured. It's a non-profit financial cooperative. We operate in Union and Essex County for those who live, work, worship, or go to school in those counties. So it's, I think, an added benefit, not only to the community, provide financial services to those members of the community. And again, given the construct of the facility, it allows us to provide a service to members that are in our reasonable proximity, the counties that we serve, but not adding any complexity to the transactions, keeping them cashless, a cashless office, no ATM, not to facilitate a lot of exterior traffic, but to really serve the members of the credit union, who are essentially owners of the credit union itself.
Do you feel that if the board were to approve this change, that the operations and functions of the credit union would be improved and allow you to do a better job, if I can use that term as a lawyer, for your members by allowing this to be approved? Is it going to help you in the operations that you conduct in the business at the property?
I believe it'll allow us to help the members that we serve in the community, to provide them ability to access their accounts and open accounts and access, services that are at their convenience and without having to go. We have other locations in Union County, Union, New Jersey, and in Essex County and West Orange. Those are full-service offices that have cash transactions.
I'd just like to highlight it's exactly the same office space. It's exactly the same type of office that's in the building now in various locations close by according to the floor plans. And again, we believe it's a necessary request for the board, and we hope that you'd be able to approve it. And if the board has any more questions about the nature of the space or the purpose of the space or the nature of the activities, we're happy to elaborate further.
Thank you very much. Members of the board, do you have any questions? Yeah, you turned it on and then off again.
I didn't see the light.
You're in.
Thank you. Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
How are your members currently served for whatever the services are that you're currently seeking the application for?
They have to go to our East Orange, our West Orange location, or our Union location.
So they just have to travel to one of the they have to travel to one of the full-service locations, and this would be a benefit to your members because now anyone in close proximity, I think you testified to, wouldn't have to travel to a full-service location. They could travel to your home office for the same services.
For those that are primarily existing members who want to maybe get service on their accounts, let's say, for example, if you lost your debit card or you need to get, or you have questions on your account that you can't facilitate over the phone, because we do operate a contact center that's office use. So we have folks in our offices today. So essentially, we're leveraging the head count that we have there, these 7 people virtually, to maybe assist those that want to come in. And think if you have a member who has a deposit and can't make that check deposit, that's a large deposit, traveling all the way to Union, they can now drop it off to us in order to make that deposit that they can't do today. They either have to go to West Orange or Union.
Thank you.
Not cash, check deposit.
Thank you very much.
Just one quick question. Since it was a waiting room that you're making, is there any issue with where the people that would normally sit in there and wait, or you didn't really have that situation?
The manner in which that space was laid out as a waiting room, it probably would have been better served if there was a receptionist in that room, because anyone who walks into that room is kind of stuck in that space and actually has to hit a bell, and then it intercoms into someone in our building, who then has to come down and get that person today. So there's never really anyone waiting, because there aren't those kind of services that are being provided. Usually when someone comes on our appointment for one of our, let's say, office visits, not for these types of transactions, for a meeting, we usually know they're there and they come right in. There's no service that we provide.
Are you concerned when you do open this for more service, you're gonna have a high influx of members since the other locations are?
I believe since it's a limited service office, so there's not cash transactions that are facilitated there, so we're trying to make sure that we maintain security. Obviously, cash implies a certain level of additional security and complexity in your overall operation. And this is primarily an office purpose use. That type of volume of that transactional business isn't the same as, let's say, a full-service office.
And will you have another waiting area for people then coming? Because it looks like you're going right from lobby into that new space.
Again, we normally never have folks waiting for us. So there's not really a use for a waiting area. What sits there today is actually a mail bin for our postal.
How would your customers know now that this service is being provided?
Ironically-
And that it's
Sure.
only limited to the check service?
We would post on our website that this is a limited service office and the kind of transactions that are allowed in that facility, that it would be cashless and there's no ATM. We wouldn't reference an ATM because, again, the idea is not to drive those folks that are not, let's say, members of the credit union to have that kind of access. Again, security issues and that volume of folks is not something that we're looking at to drive. So we'd put it on our website that that's the type of transactions in there, or we facilitate, if you visited our website, we have the ability for folks to make appointments today at our location, so they could do that facilitated in this location as well, if needed.
So currently, this location is just back office?
It's an administrative headquarters, so it's the executive team and our operations team, yeah.
Will you,
There's no retail banking done?
There's no
there?
retail banking done on that site today. We do have on occasion members that show up, and then we turn them away, because we can't take the transaction.
Right. But
By definition, we can't take the transaction, so we say, well, you have to go to Union, or you have to go to West Orange.
But this would be considered limited service retail banking?
Correct. It's a limited service office because, again, no cash transactions, primarily account servicing and maybe new accounts.
This is for the professionals. By allowing this, if we were to allow this use, would that open the door to the bank being permitted to do retail banking?
No, I think the testimony is what they're saying. If they were to expand or enhance the banking service, they'd have to come back to the board.
That would always be necessary since it triggers a use variance. So any changes would require further application. That was kind of what I was going to, is that if we offer what's limited service retail banking, does that fall under the umbrella of retail banking? So if we're able to expand this service, then, if it seems to be a success that the limited service, hey, this is a good spot to expand that.
They'd be coming back because they're basically anchored to the one room that we're talking about right now.
so you would never have clients go past this waiting
No.
room area?
No, because
Okay.
those are office personnel.
And if somebody shows up with cash, you'll just send them to?
We would send them to
them
the
out.
branch. The way if they did that today, that's what we're doing today, and we do that in all the scenarios today. Yeah. We wouldn't have a way to facilitate the cash, right? Cash operations implies I have to have safe on site, I don't have it. I'd have to have a courier, an armored courier to transport cash, I don't have it. And I don't even have that type of insurance in the bond in order to maintain the cash.
Do you have any idea, based upon like the membership and their location, what kind of volume this would bring in?
I anticipate that we'd probably see maybe no more than 5 customers a day, 5 members a day at our peak. Again, we have folks that kind of visit us today, but those are either in transit between where we are. We have members throughout all of Union and Essex because of that is the community that we serve as a credit union. I'd almost say like we're a community bank for folks who are in Union or Essex County. But again, our position is membership. And at the end of the day, it's really to facilitate those transactions that have to be in person. Most transaction business today happens digitally or online.
Right.
We We do a lot of our business even via phone, internet, and video with members. So those that have that transaction, these are for those folks who don't have that level of comfort with that type of technology, that still want to see someone in person. Or again, have a transaction that is uniquely outside of what is normally facilitated digitally, cash, or those that are depositing, let's say, a very large check, which if you've ever tried to deposit a check that's over, $100,000 online, digitally, that usually doesn't happen.
Does the parking lot accommodate?
Yeah, I'll jump in. I was the board engineer for the planning board in 2020, still am. They took a building that was very dated with multiple tenants, they spruced it up, it's in a very attractive building, and they did a whole site renovation, including paving the parking lot. We banked the parking based upon the testimony at the time that they didn't need as much parking. As Mr. Lachlan indicated, they went from 50 to 55 employees down to whatever the level is. We've had 4 years of experience watching this site now, and it operates just wonderfully. There's 2 parking lots, they don't even utilize really the other parking lots. So even at 5 visitors a day, there's absolutely no issue with the parking lot or the site or how it operates. That's what I could offer. So.
Thank you. Sorry. Oh, okay. Took the words out of your mouth. Any other questions from the board?
The only access is from Edison Place, which is a dead-end cul-de-sac off of Main Street. There's no access vehicular off from South Springfield Avenue or Springfield Road.
Okay, thank you.
We respectfully request your approval.
I'm going to turn it over to our professionals if there's any questions or comments.
I have nothing more to add other than, I think the testimony, it's limited transactions. If they were to expand in any way, shape, or form, they're back in front of this board. So, with that being said, we support this application. See no impact whatsoever. It's overparked, there's extra space on the site.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank.
It's a credit union, it's not a public bank, so it's a limited membership. We even discussed if they wanted an ATM, I don't have a problem with that, but they're not asking for that at this time.
I thank the board professionals for their reviews and providing their memos.
Any members of the public have any questions for the applicant? Any members of the public wish to speak on this application? None. Okay. I think for the reasons that were stated on the record here this evening, I'd be in favor of granting relief and the minor site plan, right? It's minor site plan with the use variance, so if anyone is, a member is in agreement and wants to make a motion?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Mr. Hochstein?
Yes.
Vice Chair Cunningham?
Yes.
Mr. Furstenbaum?
Yes.
Ms. Naparano? Mr. Shiwitz?
Yes.
Mr. Pearlman?
Yes.
Vice Chair Cohen?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, board.
Thank you very much.
Have a good summer.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Any other business? All right, motion to adjourn. Second, all in favor? All right, thank you very much, everyone.